Some time ago in Jerusalem, some archaeologists were said to have excavated a tomb that was believed to be Jesus' tomb where he was buried. While digging, they came across a layer of dust and trash. After sifting through centuries of old filth, they made a stunning discovery. That astonished everyone was this: actually Jesus Christ's tomb. And what precisely did they discover that utterly shocked everyone? In this video, we will learn more about this puzzling finding. Many events led to Jesus' crucifixion and burial. A large mob followed Jesus to the execution site. They included the Jewish authorities who had called for his execution. On the morning of his resurrection, the women who followed were the last to leave the cross and the first to arrive. At his tomb, his followers continued, but they did so distantly. The place of the skull called Golgotha is where Jesus was crucified. The Son of God was crucified here. There were crucified thieves on each side of him. This fulfilled Isaiah's prophecy. Jesus would be included among the transgressors 700 years earlier. Isaiah 53:12 KJV. The Jewish officials insulted Jesus in addition to orchestrating his execution, along with the robbers who were crucified alongside him. The Roman soldiers also made fun of him. One of them, however, repented. He was aware of Jesus' innocence. When Jesus returned in his reign, he prayed that he would remember him. In response, Jesus said that the man would be with him in paradise. That day when Jesus died, the whole city experienced 3 hours of darkness, and an earthquake took place. The large curtain in the temple that divided the holiest place from the holy place was split in. Half saints who had passed away emerged from their tombs and wandered the city. Rich Joseph of Arimathea requested permission from Pilate to bury Jesus' corpse in his brand new tomb, which had never before held a body. This came true because of another prophecy of Isaiah. He said that a wealthy man and evil were buried alongside him upon his passing. Although most Christians think the Romans crucified Jesus, no archaeological evidence supports this. In contrast, literature has a wealth of information on the Roman use of crucifixion as a death penalty. Only two humans, one discovered in 1908 and the other in 1808, can be used as evidence for this technique. The marble covering the burial shelf in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem was removed several years ago with the agreement of a group of archaeologists and other specialists. Their investigation of the tomb where many people think Jesus' corpse once lay caused a lot of interest. However, there is disagreement over the legitimacy of the website. The actual burial science of Jesus have been suggested for two more Jerusalem locales. What does the Bible say about the burial of Jesus? According to the Gospels, Jesus' corpse was interred in Joseph of Arimathea's to second, from when he was crucified until he rose. Again, archaeologists typically cite the Church of the Holy Sepulchre as having the most substantial authentication evidence. According to archaeological evidence, a Jewish cemetery was outside Jerusalem's walls in the 1st century. The history of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was chronicled by the 4th century author Eusebius. He said that in 325 BC, the Roman rule of Constantine sent a mission to Jerusalem in search of Jesus' burial site, and the time local law said that Jesus' burial place was under a temple that Hadrian, the Roman ruler, had erected after destroying Jerusalem. The Romans found the tomb after the temple was destroyed. After cutting off its top and Constantine's command, they built a shrine around the cave so that people might view its interior for years. Pilgrims have flung to the church, sometimes as many as 5,000 daily. Many people use the Via Dolorosa, a meandering road through Jerusalem's old city where Jesus is said to have been forced to carry his cross to go to the tomb. There would not have been vendors along the street today, but other than that, only a little has changed. When Constantine, the first Roman emperor to formally convert to Christianity, ruled in the 4th century, construction on the church and the site of the tomb's discovery began. Following Jerusalem's conquest by the Persians into the 7th century, it was looted, restored, and ultimately destroyed by Muslim caliphs. In the 11th century, the church was reconstructed in the 12th century when the Crusaders conquered Jerusalem, but it was destroyed by fire again into the 19th century before being rebuilt. Once again, some claim that the crucifixion occurred in the Garden Tomb, but Christians most often believe that Jesus was crucified, buried and resurrected in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The church and its famous tomb were outside the old city, but the war was eventually extended to encompass them. The marble shrine, also known as Edikul, was constructed in 1810 during the Ottoman Empire and had recently started to fall apart, but the three religious groups, Greek Orthodox, Armenian Orthodox, and Roman Catholic, that shared the church were only persuaded to agree to a refurbishment project under pressure from Israelis the next spring in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre wars from Constantine's original church, and remnants of what was thought to be Hadrian's temple were discovered during 20th century excavations of prehistoric limestone, quarry, and at least 12 other rock-gun tombs, some of which may be seen today, were also found by archaeologists. Dan Bahate, former archaeologist for Jerusalem, asserted that even though there was no reason to reject the site's authenticity, people may not be sure that the Holy Sepulchre Church's site is the site of Jesus' burial. Still, they have yet to find another site to lay a claim nearly as weighting. However, when scientists began examining the priceless samples after looking into what had been taken from the famous landmark, specialists discovered something completely unexpected and stunning: ice. The ice not only reveals a lot about how our planet has changed over the millennia, but it also appears that the fragments could be evidence to support popular verses from the Book of Genesis. Scientists extracted the corpse by drilling into glaciers and ice sheets worldwide, from the tropics to the poles, by hand and with specialized machinery and power drill. Corpse ice core shed light on events in human history. This happened because many ice fields and glaciers had formed over millennia, and as each layer of ice was added, it created a record of the climate during that time. A team led by Ohio State University geologist Lonnie Thompson camped on the slopes for about a month at an altitude of 19,300 feet to recover the corpse. Obtaining the necessary samples was challenging too. The operation led by Thompson required at least 20 people. They took 5 different permissions from various Tanzanian agencies. Even after receiving the go-ahead, the team still had to carry their equipment up the mountain to the drilling site, which required crossing at least 92 borders. In the meantime, the holes drilled to extract the cylindrical ice cores range from 30 to nearly 170 feet. Take a look at the techniques they employed to start. The method used to determine the age of the ice cores was based on nuclear bomb tests that had occurred in 1951 and 1952. Those tests released a nice amount of cold chlorine-36, and once this radioactive material had been detected, it was used to calculate the age of the ice cores. The pond inquiry, followed by the cause, provided evidence of a drought in Africa that began 300 years ago and endured for roughly 500 years. Thompson went into more detail about this finding in a news release from Ohio State dated 2002, debating a period when the lakes of Africa were drying up. The ice also depicted a later drought that occurred around 5000 years ago, but it was a third route from about 4000 years ago that lasted for 300 years and seemed connected to the story of Joseph as described in the Book of Genesis. That tale is found in the Jewish Torah, the Islamic Quran, and the Christian Bible. Some people may already be aware that the alleged events in Joseph's life are described in Genesis chapters 37 to 50, and that the guy in question was the 11th son of Jacob. According to the account, Joseph began storing large grains over the 7 succeeding prosperous years. This way, when the 7 years of drought and hunger arrived as foretold, these grain horns could feed the population. The result of Thompson and his colleagues are consistent with the drought described in the Book of Genesis, which academics believe occurred between around 603 700 years ago. The ice calls revealed that the region probably experienced a drought about 4000 years ago. Along with the account and Genesis, other ancient records show Egypt have been troubled by a drought so severe that it ultimately put the authority of the pharaohs at risk before them. More specifically, scientists uncovered evidence that this barren period had been a thin layer of dust in the ice cores. The Sahara Desert had been a fruitful region, and this extraordinary fusion of biblical allegory and contemporary scientific truth further supports the account of Joseph's prophecy. Although very few people accept the Old Testament as a literal account of history, Thompson's Kilimanjaro ice course, support this claim. We've come to the end of today's video. Please share your opinions in the comments section below. We hope you found this video useful. If so, click the like button to let us know and share this with your loved ones. Also subscribe to our channel to see all our amazing videos. You can check out the other videos we've specially selected just for you. Till the next video, stay safe.